Hey, what's going on, everybody? Base Slacker here. And in case you're not aware, I did a video not too long ago about installing OpenRC and replacing that as the init system on Slackware, which is traditionally like a BSD style, sysvinit style init system. Um, well, I decided that it's only fair that I did Runit as well. In case you don't know much about Runit, Runit is the default init system on Void Linux. They also have a version of Artix that runs it. There's a bunch of others out there, but typically Runit is kind of known as being the fast init system, and I say that in quotations because, especially with solid state drives and stuff now, you don't really see that much of a difference, but I just decided, hey, you know what, let's go ahead and let's try this out. And it was not as easy as the OpenRC install was, but it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot, and once you do it and once you get the hang of it, it's not that difficult. I can probably do this again in like a quarter of the time that it took me to set it up. It's just learning how exactly to migrate scripts over from your BSD style init system, from Slack init, just migrating those over to Runit. It's kind of a pain at first. There's a bunch of like pre-configured ones. I'll talk to you guys about that. But yeah, let's get into it. Thanks, guys. Alright guys, welcome back. I have a fresh brand new install of Slackware as per usual, and as you can see here, we just have our standard sysvinit style init system, Slack init. We have not installed Runit yet, so let's go ahead and let's get going on that. But first, again, like I had said, Runit, the default init system of Void Linux. Artix has a fork of it. It's known to be small, portable, and a lot of people talk about it being the fastest init system around. Again, like I had said before, with solid state drives and especially NVMEs, that's kind of falling by the wayside how fast the boot process is, because even with Slack's BSD style init system, it's pretty fast. Like, I mean, on my solid state drive, it's about 13-second boot time. But eventually I'm going to do a comparison of all these init systems a little bit down the road. So a few things first before we, oops, that was dumb. Before we get into this, there is two ways you can use this. So you can use Runit with your init system, or you can completely replace it. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do the latter. Feel free to try out the former. Essentially what it's going to be is it's going to be Runit supervising your traditional init system services. I haven't really played with that too much, but I just went ahead and I've tested out completely replacing the init system, and now that I've done it, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. There's some configuring that I'm going to have to do, and I'll show you guys that. So if you are going to use Runit with the init system, you can't really use sbopkg. Well, I'm sure you probably could, but you might want to just configure the Slack build itself, because you're going to have to do some extra steps in order to make sure that it doesn't link certain services and install certain things, or else it'll be really hard to undo that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and let's go down to replacing init with Runit. And you know what, first, before we do that, let's build the Slack build. So sudo sqg-p, and then we're going to do Runit services. And the reason why I'm going to do Runit services and not just Runit is because this builds the dependencies for Runit services, which is Runit and pause. So you need both of those things. Obviously, Runit is the actual init system. Runit services is a bunch of services that are supposedly pre-configured for Slackware. Some of them work, some of them don't. I would say most of them probably do work. But again, we'll get into that. So sudo sbopkg. Let's go to, I'm just going to sync really quick because I haven't synced in a while. There we go. Alright, so go to queue, go to load, we'll find Runit services, and we'll go ahead and we'll run that. But you can see I have pause, Runit, and Runit services. And if you view the readmes, Runit actually has a pretty comprehensive readme. Well, maybe comprehensive isn't the right way. It's a relatively complete. I think it can get you on your feet. But following the guide that I'm gonna show you is probably the better bet, right? So this is good for some alternative information and stuff like that. You can see it's pretty long, pretty exhaustive, but I'm gonna show you guys the better guide. So let's go ahead and let's build and install that. I'll let that install. Alright, beautiful, we're done. Alright, I'm going to clear that. I'm just going to exit out of this. Alright, so as with the OpenRC guide, we could pretty much copy and paste most of this. If you're going to start with how to replace init with Runit, just come on down here, and because all of this is undoing what you previously did. So come down to create new TTY service for Runit. So basically what we're going to do with this is just a quick overview. We're going to create like a test TTY, a test Getty on TTY 8, and then we're going to make sure that run level 2 works. Then we're going to delete that Getty and then link the Gettys 1 through 6 on TTY 1 through 6, and then we're going to reboot into Runit init. Alright, so we'll start right here. So we're going to cd into etc sv, which sv or etc sv is actually, let me go sudo really quick. So etc sv is the directory that houses Runit's services for linking, and we'll get into that a little bit. But these are like the unlinked services that you can then link into service to make them run. So we're going to go into that directory right here. We're going to copy agetty TTY1 into, and we're going to create TTY8. All right, copy this. Okay, and then this is what I was talking about with the linking. So you're going to link agetty TTY8 to the service directory, which then when you boot with Runit init, it will take whatever is in that service directory and it will start it. Also, Runit, when we link, just right here right now, it'll also Runit will attempt to start that service as soon as you link it. So it's not like OpenRC where we added something to run level default and then we had to manually start it or had to reboot to start it. You know what I'm saying? It just does it. All right. So now that we've got that linked, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start Runit stage 2 for testing. So let me copy that over. All right. So it did start. It did assign us an ID number. So I'm going to go ahead and Control Alt F8. Let's see if that worked. And it worked. Beautiful. So we're going to log in. It says log in as an unprivileged user. So don't log in as root. All right, beautiful. Just Control Alt F1 to get back. And let's go ahead and let's follow this. So we're gonna kill Runit 2. Oops, wrong button. So then we're going to remove this service. All right, and since I'm just going to double check, but since we already have all of our gettys linked, I'm not going to do this, right? Because that's just linking, you know, TTY, you know, getty TTY 1 through 6 into the services. So let's cd/service, and they're in there. Okay, beautiful, perfect. Okay, so now comes the time for reboot. So before you reboot, don't do anything just yet, but you're going to have to append your boot parameters to boot into init, sbin, runit, init. Right, so Lilo, I think it says it's, again, I haven't used Lilo in years. I use grub, so I'll show you how to do it on grub, but with Lilo, I think you tab key when you're presented with the Lilo menu, and you're basically going to type that into the boot parameters. All right, so for me, for grub, I'll show you guys that here in a second. Let me hop on my laptop and we'll get a reboot going. All right, so make sure you hit E to get into your grub boot configuration, essentially. And we're going to go to the Linux line. Make sure you append that with init equals /sbin/runit-init. Don't hit enter. Hit F10 or Control X, and it'll boot. And I don't know if you caught that at the very left. It said run it. Probably not, because it looked terrible. But yep, congratulations. We're now in, our system was booted up with Runit. Great. Alright, sorry about that. What a retard. Alright, so now let's check our services, see what we got going. And you can see we have all 6 of our TTYs, all 6 of our gettys, essentially. Alright, and we're in. Alright, we're back. Looks like everything booted just fine. Looks like we're in Runit, but let's go ahead. Let's just make sure process ID number 1 is Runit. We did it. So let's check htop. Yep, so you see right there, Runit. Boom. Look at that. Good job, guys. Alright, so let's carry on, shall we? So the next thing in the guide, it's going to basically it's going to tell us how to make that change permanent, so we don't have to append our boot parameters anymore. Once we get it all figured out, then we're going to do that. Once we get it, you know, comfortably, we can boot in, and all of our services that we want are working just fine. You know, you're not seeing any sort of catastrophic failures or anything like that. Then we'll go ahead and make our appending permanent. And actually, what we're even going to do is we're going to completely remove init out of the picture, and we're going to replace Runit init with init. We're going to link it so that it will, well, not link it, we're going to copy it actually. Linking does not work. I tried linking and it did not work, so don't try and link it. There is actually a guide somewhere, I can't remember where, but it says to link it and it does not work. So make sure you copy it. Anyways, we're going to do that a little bit later. Alright, so again, since we're in init and we're not, or excuse me, since we're in Runit and we're not in init, our sudo power off command will not work. Right, same thing with reboot, will not work. So what we're going to do is right on down here, there's some commands that we're going to run. So basically we're going to move the old shutdown script into something that's not, you know, a .sysv file, and then we're going to link our new shutdown scripts into that old shutdown script, if that makes sense. So, oops, excuse me. I always forget that. Always. Let's go ahead and let's do that. And then we're going to link our new one. All right, beautiful. So now, if we did try and reboot right now, it would work. So I'm not going to do that. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to focus on migrating services, because if you don't migrate services, there's not much benefit on running Runit. Now, as you can see, everything booted up, right? There's no problem with our Slackware at all, right? Which you would think that if you started a new init system and you didn't migrate any services before you rebooted, nothing would work. Well, that's kind of the cool thing about Runit. Is let's go ahead. I think it's etc runit 1. So run level 1. Okay, yep. So this has, you can execute one-time commands in run level 1 script, right? So you can see here we have our single user and our multi-user big important RC scripts in here. And that's the reason why everything ran just fine, because we didn't modify those the single user and the multi-user RC script to turn anything off yet. But Runit initiated those scripts on its own as a one-time service. So that's why everything ran just fine. There's no parallel booting, there's no benefit to run it right now, but it acted as init would, where it just ran those two scripts as one-time, one-off scripts, right? So we're going to change that. We're going to go ahead and we're going to start migrating some services. This right here, this kind of just describes how to do it on your own. It kind of describes the architecture of what run SV is looking for, how to make run scripts, how to make logging scripts. Read that. If you know nothing about Runit, read that. If I went through that, it would take forever. But read that, know how to, you don't need to know how to make like a run script, but just kind of understand how it works, how a log script works, how a run script works. Because if you don't, you're going to kind of have a bad time with this, right? All right, so let's go ahead and let's check out the services that we already have installed from our Slack build. So let's go ahead and let's cd into etc sv and let's take a look. Okay, so these are all of the services that we installed with Runit services. One of the big issues that I found with these is mainly the logging. The logging it's not the best. It's links, and when after everything populates, after everything boots up and you're at your agetty login screen, it starts populating logging scripts and stuff like that, and it's letting you know it's logging, but it gets in the way of your logging in, and it's annoying. So I'll teach you guys how to fix that essentially. Also, on top of these scripts, the guy who maintains the Runit Slack build, Chris, I'm trying to find his name. Yeah, Chris Abella. He has a GitLab with his services as well. So service, this is like the links that go in the service directory, and Etsy. He's got Etsy for RC, he's got some RCDs and stuff like that. And then he has what we really need, or what we really want, is for Runit, the services for Runit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and I am going to git clone this, and then I'm going to put this in my SV and basically write over, because I think these ones will actually work a little bit better because the logging is actually correct in them. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy it into the Etsy SV directory and just write over you know, let it replace the old ones. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back. Alright, I got those all copied over and the old ones overwritten. Yeah, I just think the ones provided by Chris, the logging is better, so it doesn't pop up after everything's booted up on your login Getty, and you know, clutter that all up. Again, I'm going to teach you guys how to fix that if we do have some services that do that. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's check what we got to do. And I think what we're going to have to do is start enabling and disabling old services. So let's keep going down. Again, read this, dude, there's a ton of good information in here. If I went over how to use Runit, like a deep dive in how to use Runit, we'd be here for forever. So this is a very good overview. Read this, know this, but let's get into the run scripts. Okay, let me find. Okay, so migrating services. This is very important. Okay, I'm going to read this word by word. It is suggested that services are migrated from stage 2, which are still under the Slackware BSD and init scheme, to stage 3 carefully. Start from the bottom of etc rcd rcm and work up. This means that you should start with any entries under etc rcd rclocal. Then continue for etc rcd rcs. So start with your multi-user script from the bottom to the top, because everything, you know, local probably local is going to depend on stuff up top. If you start at the top and work your way down, you're probably going to break your current system right now. So because we're doing this all while the system is live, we're going to go ahead, let's open up, let's cd, or let's nvim into /etc rcd. I'm going to have a bunch of terminals open here, and then rcm. Okay, and we're going to go, this is our multi-user script, so I'm going to go all the way to the bottom, and you can see that rclocal is the very first thing that's popping up here. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to open up another script. I'm going to leave this script up here. I'm going to sudo, and then I'm going to work from this terminal here. So let's go back to our, I don't know if you guys can see, I know that's pretty small, but so essentially what we're going to do is we're going to stop the service in init. We are then going to take away its executable privileges, and then we are going to link it or run it. Alright, I'm going to use this terminal for actually working in. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to do this for most of these entries, as many as we can, because remember, they can be started up by Runit stage 1 through these scripts. So if there's a few that need to get started up with the script, it's not that big of a deal, but you can always write a service script for it. Anyways, what we're going to do for as many of these as possible is we are going to stop the service, then we are going to disable it, and then we are going to link it for run it. Alright, so let's go ahead and let's start with, this gives Network Manager as an example, but let's go ahead, let's start with local. I do believe that there is a local service script for run it. So let's go ahead and let's /etc rc.d/rc.local stop. Okay, which I didn't have anything going in local anyways, but the service was up. So we'll go ahead, we'll recall that, and then we're going to chmod. Once you type all this out, it's actually pretty easy, because then you can just recall everything and mess with it that way. So we're going to chmod, and then we're going to take away its executable privileges. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to link it. So we're going to ln-s, because we're just doing a soft link, etc sv, and I hope there's Okay, beautiful. Local. Just like that. And then for local and run it, we're going to have to make an rc.local config file, essentially. There's plenty of places that we can see for that. Maybe at the end of this, I'll remember to do UFW, because that's usually my go-to local install, my local configuration file that I run, just to show you guys that if it's running or not. Anyways, so we're going to link etc sv local to services, or just service. All right, because that's our service directory. All right. So just for shits and gigs here, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to svs, which is sv status /service, and we're going to see if local. There we go. Beautiful. So we have local in there. It's running, and the log is down. Probably because there is no log yet. We'll fix that. All right. So I know there's no sys via net, but I'm just going to check really quick. You can leave that running. Nope. So you can leave that running with the rc in the rc.m, and you can leave that executable in the rc.d directory. That's another thing. If you want run it stage 1 through RCM and RCS to run a script, you still have to leave it executable. If you take away its executable privileges, it won't run. Like, so say if you take away udev or something like that, like if you take away udev's executable permissions and you don't have it in run it, and but you want it to start through rc.s, it's not going to run, if that makes sense. Alright, so I did myself a favor. I went ahead and I opened up a terminal into etcrcd. I LSD'd just to see what's actually running. That way I don't sit here and go, ICCD. Okay, let me try and stop that. Oh, it's not letting me because it's not running, right? So we're just going to take a look at one. We're going to see if it's running, and if it is, then we're going to see if it's actually linked, if it's actually linkable, and then we're going to go ahead and link it if it is, right? So ICC scheduler, nope. GPM, that's a good one. I'm sitting here scrolling in NVim, like a dummy. Sorry guys, if I'm seeming a little scatterbrained, it's just because I'm a little tired right now. But I know GPM's in there, so let's go ahead and let's stop GPM. And then we're going to take away its executable privileges, GPM. And this is an easy one to tell if it actually works or not, because it enables your mouse in the terminal when in your TTY when you first start up. So that's actually a pretty easy one and a satisfying one. All right, beautiful. So we linked that. Let's move on. Samba, I know I don't have Samba on, but let's you'll see now that GPM is not marked as executable anymore, which is what we want. Okay, RCD, ATD. Alright, same thing. Let's go ahead and ATD stop. And we're going to... Oops, I'm being stupid here. And I'm pretty sure there's an ATD. There's an AT and an ATD. I just use the ATD because I think the ATD one... I think AT is for ATD. I actually went into the run script and it does call upon ATD. I just used the ATD one. I think that's because that one's actually from Chris. So let's keep going. Cron. I know I have cron going. Okay, yep, I do. So same exact thing. Let's go ahead and stop cron. And we're going to take away its executable privileges, and we're going to link it. Beautiful. All right, moving on. All right, CPU freak. Pretty sure, actually, I know that's a service because, actually, I don't know if we should. Okay. I know that's a service because it says it stopped in SV. It says it stopped, but it is running, and I can prove that it actually works. So, anyways, I guess we'll get into that if we get into that. CPU freak, yep. And we're gonna go ahead and link that. So CPU freak, yep. Okay, beautiful. All right, let's move on to ACPID. Okay, that was simple. All right, same thing. And I mean, if you guys aren't getting it by now, I don't know what to tell you. You know. It's more tedious than anything. It's not hard, but it's tedious. And you can imagine on your first time doing it, you're like, oh man, you know, it's a little, you know, tedious. like I said. All right, I'll just stop talking for right now. NTPD, same thing. And we're going to link it. I mean, that is if you want NTPD, which I do. Let's see, is AutoFS in here? Nope. Okay, inet 2. Alright. Actually, you know what? I don't think inet 2 has one, but we also don't need inet 2 if you're using network manager. At least I haven't. I haven't needed to use inet 2. I have it completely disabled on my Runit systems and with network manager, and I did not need it. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna get rid of it. Oops. inet 2 stop. All right, same thing. inet 2. And I'm just going to make sure, but I'm pretty sure it's just inet 1. Okay, so we're not even going to link that. We're not even going to try. Now, network manager, the fun one. We'll let that stop here. Oops. Network manager, yep, and then we're going to link it. Okay, there it is. Man, all this stuff's just kind of blending together. Okay, now, if you followed the way I did it, you're going to see two network managers. One is going to be an uppercase network manager, and one is going to be a lowercase network manager. Oops. The uppercase network manager did not work for me. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to do lowercase network manager. All right. Now let's go ahead. Oh, okay, cool. Bluetooth. Easy. All right, same thing. Let's go ahead and do Bluetooth. Stop. chmod Bluetooth. And we're going to link Bluetooth. And it's Bluetooth D. Okay. Now for elognd, there is not a Runit service for elognd. I don't need elognd. I know if you're running certain desktop environments, I think KDE and GNOME, I'm pretty sure, need it. But you know, since I run like a I run DWM, a minimal window manager. I don't need elognd, so I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of it. Again, if you're on a full-blown desktop environment, I would not mess with elognd. Run it, the current Runit script that I have, none of them have elognd. So if you do need it, if you do need elognd, just let rc.m handle it through Runit's stage 1 init script. Easy enough. All right, let's go ahead and I'm not gonna disable it, but I'll just go ahead and take away its execution. I did do Bluetooth, right? Yep. Okay, I did. All right, message bus. You know, I think this might have been the one that I shrewd it in, and because the message bus is like dbus, so you know, I didn't want to mess around with it and you know, then stuff stops working and I'm not getting, you know, terminals popping up and stuff like that. So same thing. I'm just going to go ahead. I don't even think I'm going to shroot. I'm just going to take away its execution, and we'll I don't know. Maybe I'll you know what? Maybe I'll try. Let's take a little look see here. I didn't even okay. Well, it stopped. Alright, well, let's see if it messes with anything. And what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and link it. Now, there is a message bus service. So, just like that. Alright, beautiful. Alright, moving on. Okay, inet 1. And you can see now that it's all kind of picking up a little bit. Oops. Like we're starting to get more scripts that we need to actually put in. So we got more room to see here. Alright, inet 1 does have a service script, so we'll go ahead and we'll start that, because if you don't know, inet 1 starts the very bare minimum of your network interfaces, basically enough to start up Network Manager. And you know, I use Network Manager. It's just 1,000 times easier. I think that networking in Linux can be an absolute nightmare. So Network Manager is awesome for me, and I use that. So and with Network Manager, I don't think that you need inet 2. So I think that's why it's not in there. Anyways. Alright, let's keep going. So, RNGD, I don't think I have that. But I do know that I have havget. So, let's go ahead and let's do havget. So, stop it. Alright. Alright, what do we have here now? Okay, udev. Let's see here. I think there is a udev. Oops. You know what? This is the one that I shrewded into to stop it, I believe. Yeah, I don't know if I'll do that. In fact, I'm trying to think here. I think. Okay. No. Hold on. udev is not started. Okay, wait. Yeah, udev is not started by the multi-user script. It's started by the single user script, because that's one of the dependencies for like all of this. So this is just saying, okay, this is just a script to run udev again. Okay, we're not even going to touch udev yet. And in fact, I think that we're just going to let rc.s handle booting udev, because the udev script doesn't. It might not be that it doesn't work, but I don't think it's getting booted at the right time. Now we could probably fix that by throwing that SV script into Runit 1, stage 1. I haven't tried that yet. I haven't messed around with it yet. So we'll see. But the way I have it set up, you will get a running Runit Slackware build. But it's going to, you might want to tinker around with it a little bit more. So let's keep on going up. Again, we're not going to touch UDEV yet. I thought something felt strange about that. Okay, so syslog. I know I have syslog going. Alright. And then we're going to link it. Beautiful. Alright. PCMIA. I know I don't have that. Or PCM CIA. I believe that's really old devices anyways. Okay, set term. Yep, cool. Let's do that. Terminal 2. Okay, whatever. I stopped it, so I guess it's just giving me a little error right there. Okay, and we're gonna link the set term in here. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I made one. I think I might have made one for this. I had to have. Okay, I guess I'll show you guys how to make one a little later anyways. Let's go ahead and I'm just gonna leave that off. Screw it. It's not a big deal. Let's see here. Let's keep going. Alright, cool. Look at that. We're at the end. We did it. But we're only at the end of rc.m. So let's take a look at the chunk we made. A pretty big chunk, right? You can see that a bunch of this stuff we don't, we actually turned off the executable permissions on it. So that's pretty cool. All right, let's go ahead and quit out of that, and we're gonna rc.s. And same thing, we got to go to the very bottom. All right. Okay. rc.modules. I don't think. Okay, so there's a difference between the rc.modules and the rc.modules.local. The .modules you do not want to mess with. Because that loads a bunch of needed modules that Slackware knows that it needs. The modules.local, that is stuff that you want to load up. And I don't think there's a script for that. I think you actually have to go in and hand jam it, which is easy. I think it's etc runit module load.d and then a conf file with what you want, which again, I'm a gamer, so I'm gonna have U input in there just so I can get the Steam controller working. Right, well, not the Steam controller, but a controller in Steam working. rc.lux, it is enabled, but we're not using a LUX system, which, in case you don't know, LUX is for encryption. So basically what that service is going to do is it's going to allow you, it's going to allow you to open up like a LUX container so that you can input your password and open that up and get into your LVM, your encrypted LVM and yada yada yada. We're not using LUX, so I'm actually going to turn that off. And I don't think there is a service for that. Alright, and let's see if we can link a service here. Can we do Lux? No. Can we do Crypt? No. Can we do encrypt? No. Okay. Okay, rc.udev. Again, I'm not going to mess with that because I know the udev. I'm going to enable the udev because I think what it's going to do is it's going to monitor that service. So I'm gonna enable the service in here, but I'm not going to disable the Slackware, you know, Slack inits udev because I know that that works, and I know if I disable it, it will make the, you know, the whole computer will be fucked up. Excuse my language.
Watch your profanity.
So we're just going to enable that, just for monitoring purposes at least. Okay, loop, we're going to leave that as is. We're not going to mess with that, because obviously now you see we're starting to get into the real serious stuff towards the top of the single user boot script, right? Stuff that is very, very important. If you fuck it up, you're gonna fuck your whole system up. Again, excuse my language, sorry.
Watch your profanity.
Let's see if loop is in here. Nope. Okay, which is fine. Hey, you know, if we have, I think in total we've got, you know, just a few services really getting started up by RCM and RCS. The rest of these aren't really being used at all. They're just there, you know, as daemons essentially for us. But because we're not using init, those daemons aren't really doing anything. Those init daemons aren't really doing anything, right? The only thing that really matters is what's getting started in Runit stage 1 with those scripts that we have it manually starting one time, and all of the services that we're starting in Runit. All right, so that's actually it. I'm pretty sure that's actually it. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is let's get one more ls and let's take a look at what all we got. All right, the modules.local, we can go ahead and we can turn that off, because number one, I don't have anything set in there, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to do our own modules .local script essentially for Runit. All right, and we're going to do modules.local. All right, I'm going to pause and I'm going to get my bearings really quick, and then we'll go from there. All right, let's go ahead and let's take a look at the services that we have enabled. So, or at least the ones that we've linked. So svs/service/ asterisk. Okay, quite a few, right? And actually, if you look at them, almost all of them are running, right? The only one that's down, that's saying it's down, is CPU Freak. But I know for a fact that CPU Freak works because if I go into the run and I edit it for performance, it will run at like top level performance for my processor. But then if I change it back to on demand, it'll go back to an on demand kind of, hey, I'm just gonna idle it, you know, 2.2 gigahertz, and then I'm gonna, you know, boost up. But I know that works. All right. Before we shut down, before we reboot, let's make our local and our modules folder in Etsy. I believe it's Etsy. So let's go ahead. Let's make dir /Etsy, and then rc.local, and then we're gonna do I think it's modules load.d. Hold on, I'm gonna check that really quick. Okay, yes, it is, but I'm being retarded. rc.local is a shell script. So what we'll go ahead and we'll do is we'll do modules-load.d, and then we'll touch /Etsy rc.local. All right, so let's go ahead and enter Etsy modules.load, and we're going to nvim, and I want u input, so we'll do u input dot conf, and this is about the most simple thing you could ever do. Just go ahead and put in the name of the kernel module that you want. So u input. That's it. Simple. So I'm just going to make sure that it actually worked. Yep, okay, beautiful. Now for rc.local, you can put in your local script, your local scripts in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sudo sbopkg. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to actually remember to do this. We'll do ufw, and we're going to go ahead and install that. And while we're doing that, Firefox, let's do, oh, okay. Oh, I'm being stupid. All right, beautiful. All right, let's go ahead and search UFW and find this local script. All right. And let's go ahead and we will nvim /etc and then rc.local, and we can literally just go ahead and paste that in there. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I don't think it's anything more complicated than that. All right, we got UFW, so UFW sudo UFW status. All right, inactive. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm going to just let's w enable to allow. Actually, I'm gonna limit SSH just so that I can see something's there, and then default deny. And I'm gonna go ahead and I don't have deluge, but I'll, gee whiz, man. I'll go ahead and do that. So we can do, okay, beautiful. So we can see a bunch of stuff right there. Let's just go ahead and reload. All right. Okay. So we did our modules and we did our rc.local. I think we can safely reboot, but we do have to remember to append our bootloader to make sure that we do load back into Runit. We're going to make sure this works. We're going to make sure we didn't cause any sort of catastrophic damage to our system, because all we have to do to unfuck it essentially is just not append our boot modules, or our bootloader. That's all we got to do. Just let it boot normally. Don't mess with it. All right, so let's go ahead, let's boot, and I'll see you after the boot process. All right, here we are in our grub boot options, and we're gonna append our Linux line again like we have been doing. Init equals sbin runit init. Don't hit enter like that, like I've done about 80 times now. And we're gonna wait for that to boot up. Alright, so we can see that we've got some gobbledygook up on our TTY. You're gonna see that GPM is working here. Perfect, look at that. That's always nice to have a cursor in the terminal, but you'll see that we have some stuff about varlog bluetooth-d and varlog ATD. So we're going to fix that. That's basically being caused by I don't know if it's an incomplete logging module, but you'll see that in our services, not our service directory, but our SV directory for these things, you're gonna see in the log there's just a link file. It's not an actual script. I don't know what it's linked to, but it's obviously not working. So you see we went into etc sv udev log, and this is the run file in the log directory. All right, So what you're going to see me do is I'm going to copy that run file from udev log into etc sv bluetooth d log and etc sv attd log. And there's a problem with this, which we'll go over here in a second once it pops up. So when we hop into those, when we hop into Bluetooth log or whatnot, we'll see that it didn't actually copy the run script because there is already a file named run in there, and that's the linked file. All right. Again, I don't know what it's linked to, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove those first, because if you don't remove them, it's not going to copy it correctly. So you saw me remove run from both Bluetooth log and ATD log. And now you'll see that I have the correct run script in the log directory. So now we're going to append that run script to be the actual directory where we want it logging at. So in the case of ATD, it's going to be var log runit ATD. And in the case of Bluetooth, or Bluetooth D, it's going to be var log runit Bluetooth D. Or actually, I think I just did straight up Bluetooth. It doesn't really matter what you call it, just as long as your logging run script matches the directory that you made, which I just did straight up Bluetooth just to make it easy. And make sure you sudo, because I'm about to get denied here. And you're probably going to be in the same boat I am, where runit, var log runit doesn't even exist, so make sure you append that with p or -p, so that it makes the parent directories. So you're going to see that I'm just off the top of my head, I'm making a bunch of different logs right now, or different directories for Bluetooth, ATD, udev, CPU freak, syslog, ACPID, the works. You know, I'm just going off the top of my head. I wasn't trying to like treat it super serious. I was just trying to make a few to demonstrate that once we do that, you're going to see when we pull up our services, the log files show as running. All right, so network manager run, udev run. You can see ATD, the log file is running as well. CPU freak, log file is running. So basically, with that up and enabled, you'll be able to like tail F into the current file that's in those log directories. And you'll be able to pull that up and get a real-time count on what's actually happening right now. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to reboot. Again, make sure you append your boot parameters. And I don't know if you noticed, I go to echo and I hit left and it'll bring me to almost exactly where I want, so I don't have to sit there and hit right forever. Lots of pink, pretty cool. Alright, and ta-da, we solved it. And that's because it's logging correctly. It's logging the way it's supposed to be logging, through a run script in the log directory in our etsy-sv service. Alright, that's it. Alright guys, sorry about that, I'm back. So, a couple things. I must be getting Void and Slackware mixed up, because I run Void on a bunch of my ThinkPads and stuff like that. But there's two ways that you can make the local script work. So with the local service that we had enabled, that actually runs off of the etc rcd rc local script. So you put your local script in there and then enable the local the Runit local service, and it runs off of that. Or what you can do, which is what I chose to do just because it's more Runit like, was do the RC local, the etc rc.local, make it executable, and in Slack, in the Slackware version of Runit, you have to, let's see, sudo nvim /etc runit, and then you got to go to the stage 2, and I added this line in here. And essentially what that's going to do is your stage 2 is going to manage your rc.local file, and if it's executable, it'll execute it and it will run whatever is in there. So in my case, it was my UFW script. So I'm going to sudo UFW status gwiz, and boom, it's working. So again, we're going to ls/etc, and man, it's going to be a pain to find it, huh? I want ours. Okay, rc.local right here. So just make it executable, and you're off to the races once you've got your script in there. Now with modules, I swear I had uinput working in my modules load.d directory. For some reason, I mean, it's just not working. So actually what I did was I went ahead, sudo svs service. Sorry, it's kind of a pain to pull up services on here, but I actually made a uinput service, and it's literally just like a mod probe command, and now it's working. So sudo ls mod, and we're gonna grep. We're gonna pipe that into grep, and let's see our uinput. We'll just do that. Okay, and uinput's running. I cannot get it running in my modules load folder. I don't know why, but for the meantime, that's the only kernel module that I need. So I'm not too worried about it. You know, if I start needing more modules, I might try and worry about it just so it's cleaner for me, so it doesn't, you know, get my TISM going. But yeah, so that's just make sure you're following those guidelines for your local scripts. And I swear I got the modules working, but I just can't get them working right now. Did a little workaround, little engineering, little ghetto engineering, but yeah. So now I think we're ready to basically swap out the inits. So init is just not even in the picture anymore, and Runit is our only init system. So let's go ahead and let's go into, I'm just going to go into sbin cd/sbin. Alright, so actually let's grep that, and we're just going to do init. And you'll see right here, okay, so you'll see init and you'll see runit init. So let's go ahead, let's sudo, let's move that. Sudo move init into init.sysv. Okay, so again, let's take a look. Okay, so you'll see init is no longer init, it's init.sysv. Now let's go ahead and we're gonna I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna cp, because I don't want to move runit dash init. I just want to copy it. So cp runit dash init, and then we're going to copy that as init. That's all. That's all you got to do. Actually, you know what? Okay, I'm just going to start that over again. Alright, so I'm going to sudo and then cp-a run it into init. Bada bing, bada boom. So let's go ahead and let's grep. Alright. Cool. Yeah, sorry if you see a I didn't put -a to keep the like permissions and stuff like that before. I just figured I probably should. But anyways, yeah, I think we're about ready to reboot. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna pause this, I'm gonna hop on over to the laptop here, and I'm gonna do the reboot, and you'll see that I'm not gonna do any kernel parameters, nothing like that. So see y'all in a second. Alright, boot up went good. Let's go ahead and log in. Alright, first thing, we'll pull up htop and you can see process ID number 1. Run it. We're in, baby. Alright, let's clear the screen. Let's check our processes, our services. You can see everything's running the way it should. Of course, we're about to get into the uinput service because that's garbage. Don't do that. UFW is working, so our local, our rc.local is running, and uinput is running. Even though we're about to change that, but I'm about to show you the correct way to do kernel modules. So stick around for that. Alright, so if you followed this far and your system's working, congratulations, you have a fully independent Runit Slackware box. So congratulations, man. Few things you can see that, so number one, you can see my uinput. I actually removed that. It was messing with the udev, so they were just sitting there handing off on each other. I gotta check logs, I gotta figure out what's going on, but really honestly udev might just be sufficient for uinput. I don't know, I'll figure it out. But also syslog here, you'll see that two things are down. CPU Freak and syslog are down. CPU Freak runs. It's running just fine. I don't know why exactly it says it's down, but I can prove it to you if I go in and I mess with the service and I change it to being from on-demand to performance. I can show you that it actually does change, but we're going to fix syslog here first. So what we're going to do is we're going to sudo nvim into slash etsy sv syslog, right? Ooh, I think it's just straight up syslog, and then run. So actually what I'm gonna, okay, yeah, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go ahead and comment that out, and then I'm gonna make this really simple. I'm literally gonna go -f, and what this is gonna do is force it to run in the foreground, which is what Runit needs. It needs services in the foreground. So we can check here, and you'll see that since I mess with the run, the syslog is now running, because if a service is down, it continuously tries to bring it back up. So I fixed it, now it's back up. I just forced it to run in the foreground. Let's do CPU freak. Okay, so you can see that it's on demand. Okay, let's bring up another terminal here. And here's the on demand right here, right? Let's go ahead and let's do, I'm gonna sudo su. Alright, let's see here, CPU freak info. Okay, so you'll see that right here, the governor on demand may decide which speed to use. Right, so you see on demand, right? Let's go ahead and let's change this to performance. And I'm just going to see if it, okay, no, I'm going to have to restart it. Sudo sv restart /service oh wait, I think I can just do CPU freak, sorry. And it's probably going to time out, which is fine because it keeps saying it's down. Yep, okay, but you see that changed performance, and it's running at the max, you know, like unoverclocked 3.7 gigs that this thing is that, you know, my processor is supposed to run at. But let's go back to here and let's do power save. Just for shits and gigs, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that this is working. It's gonna time out, say it's down. But you'll see we're in power save now. So it's working. It just, you know, it just says it's down. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna change this back to, what did I have it on? Okay, on demand. And I'm just gonna restart that. And you know what, while I'm letting that do its thing, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna pause it, I'm gonna collect my thoughts, and we're gonna wrap this thing up because it's late and I'm getting tired. Alright guys, one last little update. I did manage to get the modules working. However, I had to do a little bit of magic here in the Etsy RCD RC modules. If you go all the way down, it'll say something about, you know, Etsy RCD /modules .local, right? Basically, just change that to your. You can have it be whatever you want, essentially. If you want to leave it as your rc.modules.local and leave that as executable, and then you can put your the modules, the kernel modules that you want loaded at boot time, you can do that. I just decided to make it more Runit like, and do the modules -load.d. And basically I just made a modules.conf file, made it executable, and I did it the Slackware way, not the void way or the Runit way where you just put input. I actually invoked sbin modprobe and then input, and as you can see right here, input is being invoked. That's at boot time, so you don't have to mod probe anything after that. And just so that you can see, the PlayStation 4 controller on Steam is working. For what it's worth, the games are working and stuff too. Just one last little thing. You can see I added a few more. This is my complete services list for Runit. So you can see I added a few more things, and I've gone through you know, the Slack init files, and I've basically taken away the executable permissions from a lot of them. So I'm gonna keep working on this. I think this is really interesting. I'm gonna try and get it so that Runit's running the whole thing and there's no sysv init files at all. Well, not sysv init, but slack init files at all. I think that would be pretty cool, pretty interesting. But for the most part, this kind of gives you guys a rough idea of Runit running on Slackware. So hopefully somebody out there found this cool enough to maybe try it out. I like Runit. I think it's kind of cool. I think you'll learn a lot from it. I think it's a lot less fire and forget like OpenRC is. And it kind of forces you to learn more about init systems in general. So I might mess around with this a little bit more. Obviously, my daily driver is Slackware with OpenRC. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, just put it down in the comments below. I'm about to get some sleep. It's late. And I'll talk to y'all later. Take care.
Watch your profanity.